Commander Zeftar sat in the dark corner of the bar on Station Omega-7. His blue scaly hands shook as he held his drink. The alien war veteran had not slept well for 3 years since the war with humans ended. Tonight, he would tell his story to Velnosh, a galactic news reporter. "You want to know why we stopped fighting the humans?" Zeftar asked. His voice was quiet and tired. "It was not because they had better weapons or more ships. We were stronger than them when the war started." The old commander looked out the window at the stars. "It was what humans did when we trapped them, what they became when death was close. I was a frontline commander for 2 years. I saw things that still give me nightmares." Zeftar began to tell his first story about meeting human soldiers. It happened on a small moon called Zarian 4. His army had surrounded a tiny human base. He thought the humans would give up quickly and surrender. But he was very wrong. The humans inside the base fought like wild animals. When their bullets ran out, they made weapons from broken metal and rocks. When those weapons broke, they used their hands and teeth to fight. Zeftar had never seen anything like it. "There was a human soldier named Jake Murphy," Zeftar said quietly. "My soldiers shot him 7 times with our plasma rifles. 7 times. But he kept fighting. He killed 3 of my best warriors with a piece of sharp metal before he finally died. That day I knew we were not fighting normal creatures." The alien commander continued his story. He explained that humans had a strange way of fighting. Other alien races would run away when things got bad. Other races would surrender when they could not win. But humans did the opposite. When things got worse, humans fought harder. When they started to lose, they became more dangerous. "There was a human captain named Lisa Brooks," Zeftar remembered. "She was defending a communication station with only 12 soldiers. My whole division attacked her position. That's over 5,000 soldiers against 12 humans." Zeftar took another drink before continuing. "Captain Brooks knew no help was coming. She knew all her people would die. But she kept fighting for 6 days. Her soldiers kept sending information to other human forces even as we killed them, one by one. By the time we captured the station, we had lost so many troops that our attack had to stop for weeks." The reporter Velnosh was writing down every word. Other customers in the bar had started listening too. Zeftar did not notice them. His mind was back in the war. "That communication station was supposed to be an easy target," Zeftar said. "We thought we would capture it in 1 day. Instead, those 12 humans cost us 800 soldiers and 23 vehicles. Lisa Brooks fought until the very end. When we finally broke into her command room, she was still sending messages with one hand while firing her weapon with the other." The alien commander rubbed his forehead with his scaly hands. "But that was just the beginning. What I saw later was much worse. Humans had ways of fighting that we never imagined. They turned everything into a weapon. They turned every loss into a trap for us." Zeftar looked directly at the reporter. "On the planet Kepler 3, we surrounded a human city called New Hope. The city had 50,000 people. We had 200,000 soldiers. We told them to surrender or we would destroy the city." The veteran's voice became even quieter. The humans sent back a message. It was from their mayor, a man named Bob Tyler. He said they would not surrender. He said they would make us pay for every street and every building. He said when we were done, we would never forget New Hope. Zeftar explained that the humans did something unexpected. They did not just fight with their soldiers. Everyone in the city became a fighter. Old people became spies. Children learned to use explosives. Doctors became bomb makers. The whole city turned into one big weapon against the alien army. "We thought city fighting would be easy," Zeftar said. "We had tanks and aircraft. We had energy weapons. The humans had small guns and homemade bombs. But they knew every street and every building. They turned their own city into a maze of death traps." The battle for New Hope lasted 4 months. Every day Zeftar lost more soldiers. The humans would attack and then disappear. They would set traps and ambushes. They fought from sewers and rooftops and basements. They seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. A human doctor named Carol White turned her hospital into a fortress, Zeftar remembered. She used medical supplies to make chemical weapons, not deadly ones, But they made my soldiers sick and blind. We could not fight when we could not see or breathe. By the end of the battle, Zeftar's army had lost half of its soldiers. The humans never surrendered. They fought until the last person was dead. When the aliens finally captured New Hope, the city was completely destroyed. Nothing was left but ruins and traps. That's when I understood the truth about humans, Zeftar said to the reporter. They do not fight wars to win quickly. They fight wars to make sure their enemies remember the cost forever. They turned warfare into something terrible and beautiful at the same time. The alien commander finished his drink and looked around the bar. Everyone was listening to his story now. He had been speaking for over an hour, but he was just getting started. The worst stories were still to come. Felnosh looked at his notes and then back at Commander Zeftar. The alien veteran was sweating now, even though the bar was cold. Tell me more about how humans fought, the reporter said. What made them so different from other species? Zeftar laughed, but there was no happiness in the sound. Different? They were not just different, they were terrifying. Humans turned everything into a weapon. Everything. I saw a human sergeant named Tony Garcia blow up my entire tank column using nothing but soap and medicine. The commander's eyes became distant again as he remembered. We had captured a human medical base on the planet Titan 7. Inside we found tons of supplies, medicine, cleaning materials, food. We thought it would help our army, but Garcia had booby-trapped everything before he retreated. Zeftar explained that the human sergeant had mixed common cleaning chemicals with medical supplies to create a massive bomb. When the alien soldiers tried to move the supplies, the explosion was so big it could be seen from space. 50 alien tanks and 300 soldiers died in seconds. But that was not the worst part. Zeftar continued. The worst part was that Garcia left us a video message. He was smiling when he explained how he made the bomb. He said any human child could do the same thing with items from a grocery store. That night, my soldiers were afraid to touch anything humans had left behind. The reporter wrote quickly, trying to capture every word. Around them, the bar had become completely quiet. Even the bartender had stopped working to listen. Zeftar took another drink before continuing his story. Humans understood something about war that we did not. They knew that fear was more powerful than bullets. They had a lieutenant named Amy Foster who became a ghost story among my troops. The alien commander rubbed his temples as he remembered. Lieutenant Foster. She never killed anyone, but she was more dangerous than a whole army. Foster would sneak into alien camps at night and leave small signs that she had been there. A human hair on a pillow, earth candy and food supplies. Sometimes she would just move objects around in impossible patterns. My soldiers started having nightmares about her, Zeftar said. They would wake up and check their belongings to see if anything had moved. Some of them requested transfers to other units because they could not handle the stress. Foster was fighting a war inside our minds. The veteran explained that humans had a completely different understanding of time and consequences compared to other alien species. Most aliens lived for hundreds of years, so they were careful about taking big risks. But humans only lived for about 80 years, which made them fearless about long-term consequences. Colonel Ben Hayes taught us about something humans called scorched earth, Zeftar said, his voice becoming darker. When they could not hold territory, they destroyed everything valuable before retreating. They poisoned water sources. They collapsed mines. They even burned forests that had taken centuries to grow. Zeftar told the story of the Battle of Iron Ridge, where Colonel Hayes was defending a mining operation. When it became clear that the aliens would capture the mines, Hayes made a decision that shocked everyone. Instead of surrendering, he destroyed the entire mining complex. Those mines had rare metals worth billions of credits, Zeftar explained. Hayes could have surrendered and saved his soldiers' lives. Instead, he blew up everything and retreated. His message to us was simple. If you want our resources, you will get nothing but ashes. The destruction of Iron Ridge changed the entire war strategy for Zeftar's people. They realized that conquering human territory was pointless if the humans destroyed everything valuable before retreating. It was like trying to catch smoke with their hands. But the most frightening thing about humans was their emotions, Zeftar continued. Other species try to control their emotions in battle. They think emotions make soldiers weak. Humans were the opposite. They used their emotions as weapons. The commander told the story of Commander Helen Scott and the Battle of Kepler Station. The space station was a major fuel depot that both sides needed to win the war. When alien forces surrounded the station, everyone expected the humans to negotiate a surrender. Instead, Commander Scott made an announcement over the radio. She said that if the aliens tried to board the station, she would blow up the reactor core. Both fleets would be destroyed, but the aliens would lose more ships because they had brought a bigger force. We thought she was bluffing, Zeftar said quietly. No rational commander would destroy their own base and kill their own people. But Scott was not rational. She was angry. Her brother had died in a previous battle and she wanted revenge. When alien forces tried to board Kepler Station, Helen Scott kept her promise. She manually overloaded the reactor core, creating an explosion that destroyed both fleets. The aliens lost their entire attack force, while the humans had already evacuated their essential personnel to smaller ships hidden in the asteroid field. That explosion killed 8,000 alien soldiers and only 200 humans, Zeftar remembered. But more importantly, it sent a message to every alien. Commander in the war, humans would rather destroy everything than let us win. The veteran explained that this was when alien military leaders began to understand the true cost of fighting humans. It was not just about winning battles. It was about whether their civilization could survive a war against an enemy that treated destruction as victory. After Kepler Station, my superiors started asking different questions, Zeftar said. Instead of, how do we defeat the humans? They started asking, how many of our people are we willing to lose? And what will be left of our worlds if this war continues? The reporter looked up from his notes. Did your people consider that humans might be bluffing? That they might not really be willing to destroy everything? Zeftar shook his head slowly. We sent psychologists to study human behavior. They told us that humans have something called spite. When humans feel they have been treated unfairly, they will accept terrible losses just to make sure their enemies suffer too. Our psychologists said this was not a bluff. This was human nature. The alien commander finished his second drink and looked around the bar again. More people had gathered to listen to his story. Some were humans, and Zeftar wondered what they thought of his words. The worst part was that humans seemed to enjoy the challenge, he said finally. The harder we fought, the more creative they became. Every time we thought we understood their tactics, they invented something new. It was like fighting an enemy that got stronger every time you hurt them. Velnosh put down his pen and stretched his fingers. They had been talking for 2 hours, and the alien veteran showed no signs of stopping. The most shocking revelations were still to come. Velnosh ordered another drink for himself and Zeftar. The alien commander was sweating heavily now, and his hands shook more as he reached for his glass. The worst was yet to come, he said quietly. What I am about to tell you changed everything. It was the reason we stopped fighting. The reporter leaned forward, his recording device catching every word. Around them, the bar was packed with people listening to the story. Even the music had been turned off so everyone could hear. It happened during the siege of New Darwin, Zeftar began. New Darwin was a human colony world with 2 million people. We surrounded the entire planet with our best fleet. They had nowhere to run, and no way to call for help. We thought this would be easy. The alien commander explained that New Darwin was supposed to be the final blow against human resistance. If they could capture a major colony world, other human settlements would surrender rather than face the same fate. At least that was what the alien generals believed. We sent them a message demanding surrender. Zeftar continued. We told them we had 50,000 soldiers ready to land on their planet. We had warships in orbit. We had weapons that could destroy entire cities. Any reasonable species would have given up. But the humans of New Darwin did something that shocked the alien commanders. Instead of surrendering, they sent back a video message from their planetary governor, a woman named Susan Clark. She was standing in front of the planet's government building, surrounded by thousands of human colonists. Governor Clark looked directly into the camera, Zeftar remembered. She said that New Darwin would never surrender. She said they would fight for every city, every town, every farm. She said that when we were done, we would remember New Darwin forever and we would think twice before attacking another human world. What happened next was something the aliens had never seen before. The humans implemented what they called the Alamo Protocol. Every civilian on the planet became a soldier. Children as young as 10 years old were taught to use explosives. Elderly humans who could barely walk became spies and messengers. The entire population of 2 million people turned into a military force. We landed 50,000 soldiers on New Darwin, Zeftar said. We thought we were fighting an army. Instead, we were fighting an entire civilization. Every human on that planet was ready to die rather than surrender. The veteran described urban warfare that was unlike anything in alien military history. The humans used their knowledge of their own cities to create death traps. They fought from sewers, rooftops, basements, and tunnels. They appeared and disappeared like ghosts, striking at alien forces and then vanishing into the civilian population. A human teacher named Kevin Davis turned his school into a fortress, Zeftar remembered. He and his students, some as young as 12, held off my entire regiment for 3 days. They used chemistry equipment to make smoke bombs and paint bombs that marked our soldiers for snipers. When we finally broke into the school, Davis and his students had already escaped through tunnels they had dug under the building. The siege of New Darwin lasted 8 brutal months. Every day brought new horrors for the alien forces. Humans would pretend to be wounded civilians and then explode when alien soldiers tried to help them. They would leave food and water for alien troops, but the supplies were poisoned or booby-trapped. Dr. Karen Lewis was a civilian scientist, Zeftar said, his voice becoming quieter. She created chemical weapons using household cleaning supplies. The chemicals were not deadly, but they caused temporary blindness and made it hard to breathe. She turned an entire city district into a maze of chemical traps. My soldiers needed gas masks just to patrol the streets. The reporter looked up from his notes. How many alien soldiers did you lose during the siege? Zeftar was quiet for a long moment. 60% of our invasion force, he finally answered. 30,000 soldiers. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what happened. At the end, the alien commander explained that even after 8 months of fighting, the humans never surrendered. They fought until the last person was dead. Children fought alongside adults. Elderly humans served as suicide bombers. Even wounded humans in hospitals would attack alien soldiers who came to capture them. The final battle was at the planetary capital, Zeftar remembered. Governor Susan Clark was leading the last group of human defenders. She was wounded and bleeding, but she kept fighting. When we finally cornered her in the government building, she had a choice. She could surrender and save the lives of the 50 humans still with her, or she could keep fighting. Susan Clark chose to keep fighting. She and her remaining defenders barricaded themselves in the government building and fought to the death. But before she died, she sent one final message to the alien fleet in orbit. Clark's message was simple, Zeftar said. She told us that New Darwin was just one colony among thousands. If we wanted to conquer all of humanity, we would have to repeat this siege on every single human world. She asked us to do the math. How many alien soldiers would we lose? How many years would it take? How many of our own people would die? The alien commander finished his drink and stared at the empty glass. That night I sent a report to my superiors. I told them that conquering humanity was impossible. Not because we could not win individual battles, but because the cost would destroy our own civilization. Zeftar explained that the mathematics were simple, but terrifying. If every human world fought like New Darwin, the aliens would need to sacrifice their entire military just to conquer a few dozen planets. And even then, the conquered worlds would be so destroyed that they would be worthless. General Paul Mitchell left us a recorded message after the siege. Zeftar continued. He explained that New Darwin was actually a test. Humans had been studying our tactics and learning how to fight us more effectively. Mitchell said that future sieges would be even more costly for us because humans would be better prepared. The alien veteran looked around the bar at all the people listening to his story. Many of them were humans, and he wondered what they thought of his words. But the real breaking point came when we realized something else, Zeftar said. Something that our intelligence officers discovered by studying human communications. Something that made us understand that we could never win this war, no matter how many soldiers we sent or how many planets we attacked. Velnosh leaned forward eagerly. What did you discover? Zeftar looked directly at the reporter. We discovered that humans had been preparing for this war long before we ever met them. They had been studying alien warfare for decades, learning from the mistakes of other species. Everything they did, every tactic they used was part of a plan they had been developing for years. The alien commander paused, letting the implications sink in. We thought we were fighting a desperate species that was making things up as they went along. Instead, we were fighting an enemy that had been preparing for us specifically, an enemy that knew exactly how to defeat us. The bar was completely silent now. Even the bartender had stopped moving. Everyone was staring at Commander Zeftar as he prepared to tell the final part of his story. Velnosh could see that the alien veteran was exhausted, but he was determined to finish what he had started. What we discovered next changed everything, Zeftar said slowly. Our intelligence officers had been studying human communications for months, trying to understand how their military worked. What they found was not what we expected. The alien commander explained that his people had been looking for weak points in human command structures. They wanted to find the important leaders they could kill to break human resistance. They thought that if they could cut off the head of the human military, the body would die. But humans do not fight like other species, Zeftar continued. We expected to find a typical military with clear chains of command. Instead, we found something terrifying. Every human soldier was trained to be their own commander. The veteran described how human military doctrine was built around the idea that command structures would be destroyed in battle. Unlike other alien species who became helpless when their leaders were killed, humans became more dangerous when they were left alone. Squad leader Rick Thompson proved this to us, Zeftar remembered. When we killed his commanding officers, Thompson took control of 3 different human units and coordinated a counterattack that destroyed 2 of our bases. He was just a low-ranking soldier, but he fought like a general. The reporter wrote quickly, trying to capture every detail. How is that possible? Velnosh asked. Zeftar laughed bitterly. Human children play war games from the time they can walk. They study military history in school. They watch movies about famous battles. By the time they become soldiers, they already understand strategy and tactics better than most alien officers. The alien commander told the story of medic Susan Clark, who had been trained only to treat wounded soldiers. When her unit was surrounded and all the officers were dead, Clark took command and led a fighting retreat that saved 200 human lives while destroying an entire alien regiment. Clark was a medic, Zeftar emphasized. Her job was to heal people, not kill them. But when her people needed a leader, she became one. She used medical knowledge to create poison gas. She used ambulances as armored vehicles. She turned a hospital into a fortress that held out for 2 weeks. The veteran explained that this was when alien leaders began to understand the true scope of the problem they faced. They were not fighting an army with weak points they could exploit. They were fighting millions of individual armies, each capable of independent action. Captain Jim Foster showed us how dangerous this could be, Zeftar continued. Foster captured one of our command ships with only 30 soldiers. He used our own communication protocols against us, sending fake distress signals that lured other ships into traps. Foster had studied alien communication patterns and learned to mimic their distress calls perfectly. Over the course of 1 week, he destroyed 6 alien ships by pretending to be a damaged alien vessel calling for help. By the time the aliens realized what was happening, Foster had turned their entire communication network into a weapon against them. But that was not the worst discovery, Zeftar said, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. The worst thing we learned was that humans had been planning for this war since before they met us. The alien commander explained that human intelligence services had been studying alien warfare for decades. They had analyzed the tactics of dozens of different species. They had identified the weaknesses that all alien militaries shared and developed specific strategies to exploit those weaknesses. Humans knew we would rely on superior technology, Zeftar said. So they developed ways to fight without technology. They knew we would target their command structures, so they trained every soldier to be a commander. They knew we would try to capture their resources, so they prepared to destroy everything rather than let us have it. The veteran told the reporter about Admiral Lucy Davis, the human officer who had coordinated the overall defense strategy. Davis had sent a message directly to the Alien High Council near the end of the war, and that message had changed everything. Admiral Davis proved that human intelligence had penetrated deep into our territory, Zeftar remembered. She provided detailed information about our homeworlds. She knew the locations of our military bases, our industrial centers, our population centers. She knew things that only our highest-ranking officers should have known. Davis's message was simple but terrifying. She explained that humans were prepared to take the war to alien homeworlds if necessary. She had already identified the critical infrastructure that kept alien civilization functioning: power plants, water treatment facilities, food production, centers, communication networks. Davis told our High Council that humans had been patient so far, Zeftar said. They had only fought defensive battles on human territory, but if the war continued, humans were prepared to attack our civilian infrastructure with the same ruthless efficiency they used against our military. The alien commander rubbed his temples as he remembered reading that message. Davis attached a list of targets to her communication: schools where our children learned, hospitals where our sick were treated, cities where millions of our people lived. She said that humans did not want to attack civilians, but they would do whatever was necessary to end the war. Admiral Davis had also revealed something else that shocked the alien leadership. Human reconnaissance teams had been operating in alien space for months, possibly years. They had mapped alien defenses, identified key targets, and prepared detailed attack plans. We realized that while we were trying to conquer human worlds, humans were already inside our territory, Zeftar explained. They were watching us, learning about us, preparing to destroy us if we pushed them too far. The final revelation came when Davis explained that the entire human defense strategy had been a test. Humans had been studying alien tactics, learning how to fight more effectively with each battle. The longer the war continued, the better humans became at killing aliens while losing fewer of their own people. Davis said that if we forced humans to attack our home worlds, the results would be much worse than what we had seen on human territory, Zeftar continued. Humans fighting on their own worlds were defending their families. Humans attacking alien worlds would be seeking revenge. The Alien High Council received Davis's message and voted for peace negotiations within hours. They understood that continuing the war meant the destruction of alien civilization, while ending the war meant they could survive and rebuild. That is why we stopped fighting, Zeftar said finally. Not because humans defeated us in battle, but because they convinced us that victory would cost more than we could afford to pay. They turned war itself into a weapon against us. The alien veteran finished his last drink and stood up slowly. The bar remained completely silent as he prepared to leave. Publish this story if you want, Zeftar told the reporter. Let the galaxy know what humans are capable of when they are threatened. Maybe it will prevent another species from making our mistake. As Zeftar walked toward the door, Velnosh called after him. Do you regret starting the war? The alien commander stopped and looked back. Every day, he said quietly, but I am glad we learned to stop it before it was too late. After Zeftar left, the bar remained silent for several minutes. Everyone was thinking about what they had heard. In the days that followed, Velnosh's story would spread across the galaxy, serving as both a warning and a testament to human determination. The story became required reading in military academies throughout known space, not as a tale of human heroism, but as a lesson about what happens when a peaceful species is pushed beyond its breaking point. The humans, for their part, neither confirmed nor denied the details of Zeftar's account. Their silence said everything that needed to be said.